And I go at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on the train, and everybody's dressed in the same dark suit. Everybody's going to Grand Central Station. Everybody's doing, and it was, I looked at it one day and I was like, I feel like we're cattle. I feel like we're just being pushed into this little maze to go and do things. And I started thinking about that, and it's like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be the person that forces that on people.
Hi, I'm Becky. Welcome to Short Story Long. In this podcast, we discuss ways you can integrate who you are into how you lead. Today's guest is Jose Bordetas, a veteran customer experience and support leader with over 2 decades of building and transforming global teams. Jose's journey is anything but ordinary. From the military to the boardroom, from the heat of restaurant kitchens to leading world-class customer success organizations across tech and SaaS. He's built a reputation for turning struggling operations into thriving, customer-obsessed cultures, all driven by his people-first approach to leadership. Currently serving as a customer success manager at ADP, Jose partners with enterprise clients across the Americas to unlock value through trust, strategy, and authentic collaboration. He's also the author of the upcoming book, Breaking from the Herd, where he shares lessons from a life of learning, leading, and asking one powerful question: what can I do better today? I'm so happy to have you here today, Jose. Thanks for coming to the mic.
Becky, thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate this. We go back a little bit.
We
Some
do.
folks might not know that, but we do go back a bit. And I thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
Yes. And I know that you have a really interesting career with a lot of curves and changes and all of those things, but we'll be talking about one of those impactful inflection points in your life and in your career. And so where I'd love to just start is to get the thumbnail version, right? Like, what was that inflection point in your life that we'll be focusing in on today?
Actually, the one inflection point was the birth of my daughter. That's when I came to terms with the fact that it was no longer about me. And, that my ambitions, while I have them and I still, pursued them,
Yes.
they had to be done in a different way. So I used to be working at I was a recording engineer for a while. I was in the Army, in the military. And then I was a cook. I was a line cook. I was a sous chef until I decided that, it's a lot of fun. It's my passion. I still cook regularly. But it doesn't pay the bills. It's not what I wanted for my daughter, and that's where it all started.
Yeah. Yeah. So when she was born, I mean, obviously you'd had these different career kinds of experiences and actually even before she's born, you knew she was arriving.
Mhm.
And so what were some of the things that you were thinking about in terms of that shift from what you were doing to what you were going to be doing later?
Yeah, so predictability more than anything. I wanted my outcomes to be predictable so that I can give her a better life than what I had when I was a child. Not that I had a bad childhood at all, but I had a single mom. She had 3 kids. Very, very difficult for her to do things. So it was just the idea that I don't want my daughter to have to go through that. And I knew that if I kept on going the chef route, chances that I'm going to become Gordon Ramsay are slim to none. So I was always going to be struggling there. And I was smart. So I got an interview with a company called Gartner, and I passed the interview. And that was the beginning. And that's where it
Okay.
started.
Okay. So at that point, how did you choose what you would go into, right? You say, well, I did the interview with Gartner and I was successful with it. And yet it feels like there would have been a little bit of thought process around what kind of role you would want to have.
Actually, I just wanted an into a tech company, right?
Okay.
And in this specific case, I was going to be a sales coordinator. I had no idea what that was, but at the time they were paying $8 an hour, which was a lot of money back then. So I decided to go in there, and they put a computer in front of me, right? And I figured it out.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I'm running tech support for the office in Atlanta. Next thing you know, they're calling me from the main office in Stamford, Connecticut, and they're asking me would I like to come and be formal part of the help desk team. So I went up there and I decided, okay, let's go there. This seems to be I seemed to be able to hit the ball on this one, and within 6 months, I was manager of the team.
Okay. Okay. And when you were thinking about that predictability and that stability probably for your daughter, what were some of the things that were really important to you that she would get from that?
I more than anything, what one of the things I said that my mom, was single mom,
Yeah.
she worked her tail off. And number one, I wanted her to see that hard work pays off, right? All of the impetus that I have in life to succeed and to move forward was because my mom taught me how to work hard. And that more than anything, that's what I wanted to show her that, even a person like me that had no background in this, I can start from the bottom and work my way up. And I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to start in the middle or at the top in order to be successful. There's a whole path of just learning about yourself as well as learning about what an organization does. What was it like when you first went into Gartner? Because that had to be a big difference from what you'd been doing
Oh,
prior.
absolutely. Completely different. So uh, it became real. Right? It wasn't just I show up, put together a couple of ingredients that they told, showed me a recipe on how to do. Actually, I had to think. I had to be challenged, and I love that. So I found out quickly that I thrive on challenge, and I love to be pushed, and I love more than anything for somebody to tell me you cannot do it. That really gets me going. So I had a lot of that, a lot of colleagues, friends, what are you doing? You're going to be moving to Connecticut. You're leaving all of this here. And I said, look, this is just something I have to do. I sold my wife on the idea and we moved up. And that was that. That's how it
Yeah.
started.
Having talked my husband into a couple of things over the course of my life and professional life, I'm curious, what did that look like? Because you're moving that family unit that prompted you to move into this and you're relocating, kind of to the snowy bits.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest, it was more of, I think she caught my excitement. I think
Mm,
she sensed it. I told her, this is the opportunity. I know it. I know for a fact. I don't know what I'm doing, yet they're moving me up here anyway. Full relocation, all of that good stuff. And I started pretty late in life in IT in the corporate world. So started when I was around 30 or so. Before then, like I said, I was in the after school. I was in the military. From there, I became a cook. Before all of that, I was a recording engineer for a sound studio. And one thing that a lot of people may or may not know, I was a roadie for Motley Crue during the Dr. Feelgood tour.
all right. Wow. That's pretty amazing. How long were you doing that?
About a year. About a
Okay.
year. Once they moved over to the European leg of the tour, they have to hire people over there, so they couldn't take the.
Sure, that makes sense. That makes
Mhm.
sense for sure. And yet, all of those kinds of experiences that brought you joy during that time, you set that aside in a sense in order to pursue this other direction. While you were learning and getting your feet beneath you in that corporate environment, what were the things that you were really learning about yourself during that time?
I can.
Mm.
That's one of the things that I learned about myself more than anything is I can, if I put my mind to it, I can get it done. Now, it's really easy to procrastinate. I'm no different from anybody else. But when I figured out that I had the smarts to do it, when I figured out that all I had to do is put the hard work, the effort, the attention to detail, which I already have, and things would start to materialize and work out. And yeah, it's not easy. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people they want all of the accolades. They want the compensation. They want the travel. They want this, that, the other. And unfortunately, none of that comes for free. You've got to give, you've got to invest. I spent countless hours studying, learning, because one of the things that I can tell about myself is I don't know anything, right? I just know what I've learned. And I just started to focus on those things. If I had a gap in my knowledge, I just sit down and go for it. And I would just learn as much as I could about that. I honestly, I never wanted to be in leadership at all. One of my mentors at Gartner, Kevin Volpe, he was like, I can get anybody to be a systems admin. I wanted to be a data center architect. He said, I can get anybody to be a systems admin for me, or work in a data center. I can't find somebody that can put it all together for me. And I think that's you. So slowly but surely, he started giving me challenges. Like my first huge challenge was to project manage. I wasn't a project manager. To project manage the building of a building in Fort Myers, Florida for Gartner and work with the vendors. And that was a huge challenge. You talk about imposter syndrome. That was
Mm.
on the daily. I would wake up and think, what am I doing? I mean, this is crazy. But I kept hitting the ball. Maybe
Hmm.
not as far as I wanted to hit it. Maybe I didn't crush it into, the top bleachers, but I kept on hitting it. And I kept moving forward, and slowly but surely that challenge become another challenge. And then from there, I started became the manager of the site. Then I became the director for support and infrastructure solutions for Latin and North America, and then I became global. So it's just a slow progression, but very, very challenging. And like I said before, I thrive on challenge. I mean, there's nothing that will get me to talk to a recruiter quicker than being bored.
Yes, I can appreciate that. And really, I've said it on the podcast before that it's worthwhile to have those conversations because it might highlight, oh, I could maybe take that kind of challenge and apply it to where I am. So it's
Exactly.
not always a bad thing when someone on the team is interviewing because they might learn something that they bring back. And it might not be a resignation letter that they bring back from one of those. I actually find pretty commonly that people find the grass is reasonably green on this side and going somewhere else doesn't help because the cost is more than the gain. Not always true, obviously,
Not
but
always true, but I can tell you it is true in certain senses. One of the things that I can tell you is that when I started to work with Kevin, we had a very close relationship. I mean, he just took me under his wing. Him, Megan, a bunch of people. But he basically one day called me out and he said, what's going on? Uh, some days you're all doom and gloom. Some days, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm handling it. And he's like, stop it. What's going on? Because I'm going to be honest with you. You choose to get in your car to drive over here. You choose to walk through those doors. You choose to hit the elevator button. You choose to use your badge to get inside the facility. If you're doing all of that and you don't like it, why are you doing it? And that, talk about a mind blown moment. And I still to the point today, right now, I actually have, and I'm saying this because you said the word, I have a resignation letter in my back pocket. It's always there. And it's just because I was taught that I am doing this because I want to do this. The day I do not wish to do this, I have an out. There's nobody
absolutely.
holding me hostage. Nobody's got a gun to my head. If I'm in a toxic environment and I choose to stay there, that's on Jose. It's not on anybody else. At the same time, if I choose to leave a really, really encouraging and nurturing environment, that's on Jose as well.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. And one of the things that you had talked about was the idea of working hard and spending the time digging and learning the things that you didn't know and understanding that. What were some of the things that you found yourself doing, particularly as you moved into leadership, in order to really understand what you needed to understand in order to keep building that foundation higher?
Mhm. Well, the beauty of it was that my management team at Gardner, they really invested in me. So they
Okay.
sent me to trainings. I went to multiple different courses. They were very, very back then. Well, I guess still to date, but they were very, very into cross-functional collaboration, and that was not something that really happened back then. It was there was a lot of you stay in your lane, you're siloed, you're the typical stuff. And one of the things that I learned was that I don't know enough about anything. As much as I know now, and after all of the years of experience, that one experience taught me that I there is always something that I can learn. There's always something that I can do to make myself better. It's not just about the money, it's not about the job, it's about me. I know how I function. I know what gives me satisfaction and what gives me that sense of fulfillment, and it's when I nail something. And like I said before, it's especially when somebody's telling me, "Why are you even trying? You're not gonna get that."
Yeah, yeah.
I love
Well,
that.
and I hear you say that, or it kind in that direction, right? Of I dare you to tell me I can't. What does that create within you when someone says that you can't?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's like, okay, game on. Let me just show you exactly what I can and can't do. You've got to be very, very, you've got to be confident, but there is a borderline, there's a line there that goes from confident to cocky. And it is a constant struggle, right? I mean, you have to make sure because another thing that I was taught was that even though you may think that you're great, don't tell people that you're great. Let them tell you that you're great. And it's really easy when you're fresh, when you're, young blood and you start getting some accomplishments underneath your belt and you start, getting increasingly bigger challenges and meeting them and exceeding at them. It's really easy to blur that line from being cocky to being humble, yet, 100% confident of my capabilities.
Absolutely. There's that piece of it where you can be less confident than you should be and
Hmm.
doubting yourself constantly. You kind of
Absolutely.
talked about the imposter syndrome side. And then there's this cocky so it's like a spectrum in a sense. Where do you feel that sense of confidence for you started?
Like I said, I think that it first started when I was able to go into a tech environment and get that interview. Because my interview was like, I know nothing of these things, right? I'm a very straightforward person. So when the person was interviewing me, they said, "But can you learn?" And I said, "I can learn anything I want. I put my mind to it." And that was enough. That was enough. But when I got in there and I started seeing that as I progressed and as I worked harder and as I showed what I was capable of, the value increased and the responsibilities increased and they just kept giving me more and it's like there's a lot to be said nowadays about how everybody's all involved with the serotonin and dopamine fix, right?
Yes.
Once you start winning, talk about getting a dopamine fix. I mean that you just want that to continue to happen. I want to win. I want to continue to work. I want to continue to win, and that's just pushed me, and it's pushed me throughout my whole career.
And it almost strikes me the way that you talk about that the confidence is in I will figure it out and really deeply embedded there. And
Mhm.
at the same time, over your career, you have proven to yourself over and over and over again that that hard work does pay off. You're able to get recognized for those successes, even though you're not out there with a megaphone telling everyone how awesome Jose is.
Yeah.
They actually see it. One of the things that when I talk to people, they say, well, the work should speak for me. And I'm curious what you would say about that line of the work speaking for you when maybe people aren't always looking.
I have a problem with that, quite frankly, because the work should speak for you, but how you portray yourself it's half of the equation, right? So there's a lot to be said about EQ now, right?
Yes.
And that wasn't a thing, obviously, 20 some years ago when I was coming up. It was more along the lines of you say as I do, and that's it. Don't worry about it. And I always thought that that was not something that I wanted to be, right? So I learned. We talked about my mentors, and I've learned so much from him. I actually, to one point, we used to say, "What would Kevin do?" Right? Whenever I got it, I still do. By the way, I still speak to him, and I still ask him that question: "What would you do?" But the truth of the matter is that once you start getting to the point where you start hitting the ball consistently, you just want to keep on doing it. You want to keep on going, and then you want to hit the ball harder. You want to get it to more places. It's for me anyway. For me at least, um, one of the things that drove me is just the fact that if I tried something and I was able to accomplish it, there was not okay. Now it's time to chillax and rest. No, it's like okay, I could have done this easier had I known X, Y, or Z. So what's the next step? Because I mean, learning what you don't know is easy. Knowing what you don't know is difficult.
Yes. The other thing that I really kind of pick up in that too is this it has to be repeatable.
Mhm,
And so you hit the ball, but you have to keep on hitting the ball.
mhm.
And you sound like you're really driven to make sure that more times than not, it goes over the fence and that you can repeat that as well. What were some of the other, I might almost call them leadership myths, right? Like my work should speak for me. I'm the boss, do as I say, maybe even not as I do. Like those kinds of messy things that you didn't like. What were some of the other ones that as you came up, you recognized that didn't really work for you?
Back when I was coming up, leading towards the individual was not a thing. It was a cookie cutter approach. I think that's where the process of coming up with the idea of breaking from the herd came
Yes.
from. I did not want to do it. I've had some amazing managers and mentors, and quite frankly, I've had some really, really bad management. And you know what? I've learned just as much as I have from my good mentors to my bad managers. With the bad managers, I know what not to do, who I don't want to be, right? And then obviously from my mentors, I learn, what works for me, what they believe, and then from there you go forward. But it's there's the paradigm. We have a lot to say about the whole servant leadership model. None of that existed. I mean,
Right.
when I started coming up on my own in management, I always thought I wanna lead like I'm a band leader, right? I don't wanna I need to know this guy's a drum, but he's a tom tom, and this one's a floor drum, and she's a piano, and I wanna play Stairway to Heaven. But
Mm.
I can't play Stairway to Heaven if I don't know how the music sounds and how the instruments are to be used so I can get the best sound from them? So and honestly, that's where that whole genesis came from. And I said, yeah, it's like because I used to be a recording engineer, and I could say, okay, you're too loud, bring it down. Your tempo's 1.2 seconds. You're 1.2 beats behind where you should be. And it's so powerful when you think about it because you give the opportunity to the person not only to tell them what they're doing wrong, because that's not the point. The point is like you could be so much better if you did X.
Mhm. And it gives them something to strive for instead
Mhm.
of something to avoid. I always used
Absolutely.
to talk about it in terms of you're going into a room and you're telling them not to look at the pink elephant. So naturally they do, and worse, they don't know where to look. And what's really interesting too is how those previous careers have a tendency to show up in how you lead people. You're talking about the recording engineer that you don't want it to be too much dissonance in the
Mhm.
music. You want there to be
Exactly.
a little bit of harmony. When you think about the sous chef part of your life, for example, what are some of the things that you feel like you've carried through from, you know, being a great chef, being a great cook that you would carry into thoughts about leadership?
Attention to detail.
Mhm.
It's all about the detail, right? And to be able to learn how to scale things, right? All we need to do is find out what is the flavor of soup that we want and then add ingredients or subtract ingredients, right? But you need to know what flavor you're looking for. When the thing that I learned as a chef, number one, because it is a service industry, I think that a lot of the customer service portion of my passion comes from there because I did it for the customers, right? I did it
Right.
for paying customers that came and they wanted to eat my food, and I wanted them to say, "Your food is fantastic," right? Same thing now, right? I mean, I've got customers that come with me, they work with me, I advocate for them in my current role, but in the past as well. I mean, my customer could be my CEO, and so many times it was, right? And you have to work with them, and you have to because there's there's something that I usually tell my teams, and it's like you need to learn how to speak to your audience. A CEO doesn't have time for small talk, for chit chat, for long, elaborated sentences. Give them a 5-minute press. This is what you got. Boom, 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 bullet it out. But and then at the same time, if I'm speaking to a subordinate or if I'm speaking to a peer, I may have to extend it. I may have to go into more detail than I would like to, or that I need to, with a different level. I think that that was very important as well, and that I learned to deal with the customers as they come in and like I said, a customer can be anything. A customer can be now you have influencers, you have all of these things that we didn't have to think about back then. But at any given time, the owner might come in and order something, and you don't know. So you always have to be at the top of your game.
And really tying into who is the audience I'm talking to, and having that kind of recognition,
Mhm.
and like you say, changing the messaging, changing how you present it, even in terms of formality and all of those elements as well, because you could probably also be a little bit more relaxed with your peers, where
Oh,
when you're
absolutely.
talking to a CEO, whether it's a customer CEO or yours,
Mhm.
there's a different kind of formality. And I don't mean buttoned up, be somebody else kind of thing. And that makes me think about the other aspect of this, which is, your evolution as a leader from where you started to where you are, it sounds as though you've brought yourself forward the most in terms of your leadership style.
Mhm.
What is it that's really important to you about authenticity as a leader?
It shines if you're not authentic. It comes through you. You can BS your way through a whole bunch, not through everything. At some point, somebody's going to find you out. And I truly believe that, by staying authentic to yourself, what you're saying is what you mean. So it's very, very difficult to get caught up in a lie or in an embellishment, or because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen so many times where people say one thing trying to get favor off of their CEO or a new customer or whatever, and then get caught out. You didn't mean what you were saying. I mean, look at you. As soon as I signed, you're no longer part of the solution. You're now throwing me on. It comes to. I think that authenticity works really well for customer facing roles, but then as a leader, I need to be authentic with my team. I don't want people that blanketly just follow everything that I say. I don't like that actually. I called people out for that. I was like, I didn't hire you to be to be my hype man. I hired you to let me know the things that I don't know based on your experience, and then I can take that, work with you, and collaborate. How can we fix it, right? Because one of the leadership tricks that Kevin taught me was that he doesn't know everything. He doesn't. He's just a great manager, but he brought people in that knew their craft, that had the skills needed, and then he would polish them, right? But he had a saying that said, "You polish a turd.
Right.
You take that turd and you polish it, because if you can polish that, imagine what you can do with a real project." So I
Yeah.
took
There
on
might be a diamond in there somewhere.
absolutely, and I can tell you so many times that I took on the messiest projects that nobody wanted at the beginning. Because number one, it would be a challenge, and people couldn't get it done, and Jose went and got it done. And again, a lot of hard work went into it, a lot of nights reading, learning material that I knew nothing about in order to get to where I wanted to be. But when all is said and done, you hit that mark, you put in all that hard work, people recognize it, and normally you get that next step up.
Absolutely. And one of the things that it makes me actually think about is there was a time in my HR career where I found myself working with the executives that other people were like, oh, that person, I just can't. I just can't work with them. And for some reason, I did really well in those situations because one of the things that I could do is just tune into what is it that you don't like about HR. And trust me, there's usually been a list of things that they would say because if they were bitter toward HR, there was a reason for that. Not
Mhm.
because and sometimes it was correct and accurate. Maybe they had a partner that they were working with that soured them. Okay, I'm not that person. So could we just start fresh? And then the other side of it was, I don't see any value in it. Right. And one of the things that I would use on the regular was, how about you give me X amount of time every month for the next Y number of months? And if you find that I'm an echo chamber and I only tell you what you want to hear, or I'm here driving you in a particular direction that you think is ridiculous, well, then you don't have to talk to me anymore. Now, I will say the first time I did this, my boss was really not impressed that I took that risk.
I can imagine.
But at the same time, if you can't force people to work with you if they really are against it and they're really opposed to it. And what I'm hearing you say is when you have people who are around you who aren't living up to their best potential, be it a peer, be it a direct report, whatever it might be, helping them kind of see the best of themselves actually starts to get them engaged in the process.
Mhm.
And one of the key things that you were talking about earlier was you need to be authentic as the leader, driving authenticity within your team. What happens for you when maybe a team member says, yeah, I'm just really here for the paycheck. I don't really need to aspire to more. How does that challenge your leadership?
It depends. So there are some people that are just like that. One thing that's true is I can't motivate anyone. I can figure out what the motivational triggers are, and
Yes.
see if I can use those to shape the kind of behavior that I'm looking for. But when you can see that especially when you inherit somebody, right? When you inherit a
Yes.
team, because we all know we've all hired people, and we all know just how crucial it is to hire right the first time. Just from a money
And
perspective,
how
among
difficult
oh
as
yeah,
well.
oh
Yes.
absolutely. But once you start getting to the point where you're like, it just I'm just not seeing the effort. I'm not seeing the growth. I'm not seeing just not seeing it, then at some point you're going on a performance improvement plan, and I'm going to make it so difficult that uh, you're either going to leave or you're going to say, you know what, this guy's giving me a chance. Let's step it up. And I've had that happen way more times than I've had people that say, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. This is beneath me. It's not. It's not about punishing anybody.
Yeah.
It's about teaching them. Look, this is what it takes. This is what you want. You're telling me that this is what you want. I'm telling you that the approach that you're taking right now is not going to get you there. I am not responsible for your career path, but I am responsible to help you get there, right? Until certain points, obviously. I mean, if what we do is we work in IT, but you want to be in marketing, that it's not much I can do about that. However, I can tell you, hey, then start talking to the marketing people, see if there's any special projects that you can work on. Start reading. As a manager, as a leader, you've got to be cognizant that every single person is unique. All of them. All of them are triggered differently for motivation. All of them have different, sore points. Actually, some of them don't like to be talked to in a harsh way. Some of them I've seen. Okay, when I'm strong in my approach, I get more out of them, and that is the beauty of understanding who your team is. Right? You get to the point where you understand how you want them to work. You got that band going, right, and you're about to play
Yes.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yes. Well,
Mhm.
and it also shows your emotional intelligence or emotional quotient. You talked about EQ earlier, where, and again, you talked about leadership is about the individual and how each individual comes into the team to make it, beyond the sum of its parts, right?
Absolutely.
And really being able to expand that. And I'm curious, when you're writing Breaking from the Herd and you're moving that book toward completion, I'm curious, what are some of the lessons that you have learned? I won't expect you to give us all. I mean, we need to be able to go buy the book and get more information later. But what are a couple of the key leadership lessons that you really think that the listeners should hear?
This one is really easy for me. I don't want clones of me. I am not trying to take someone into leadership that number one doesn't have the desire, because it doesn't work. Back in the day, you were you were basically measured on your success as whether you went into management or not. I mean, that is not the case anymore. You
No.
can have an incredibly successful career as a subject matter expert, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with management, no team structure, nothing. Uh, to the point that what I'm doing right now, the role that I had before was moved to Israel. So, I was thinking about retiring, and opened up a food truck. That's way more work than I wanted. So I got somebody to do that for me. But the thing is that what I did find out quickly is that I I work better when I have a challenge. And in this role specifically, I just wanted to be challenged as an individual contributor. I wanted to take a step down. I wanted to take a break. It's been 25 plus years of managing people at a large scale, right? I mean, I'm talking about, I got my first global role when I was 6 years into the business,
Okay.
into the industry. And then from there, it's all been that. So, but it takes a lot of guts to take that kind of step.
Yes.
But what I did know is, like, I wasn't ready to quit yet, and I wasn't ready to get right back into the fray of managing a large, 100-person plus team.
How much do you find that you're leading even from an individual contributor seat?
Yeah, well, that's something I can't turn off. I do have to do it with caution and with care. I've got a fantastic manager. Fantastic. He's excellent. He's a lot younger than me, but he gets it. He understands, and what he doesn't understand is that I understand that he understands. And it's funny because one of the things that I've always told my teams is that you've got to get to the point where you want to do what you're doing. If you don't want to, if you're playing the short game, and your short game is you want to get paid on Fridays or on the 15th and 30th or whenever it is, and that's what you're focusing on, you're always going to do the least amount of work possible for whatever compensation you're going to get. Right? I may be cynical. I'm an old guy, but the truth of the matter is that happens a lot. However, if you are focused on pushing forward, if you're focused on excelling, if you're focused on proving yourself that not just other people, to yourself that you can, like with this, I've with this role that I've got right now, I've encountered a number of challenges that had not been resolved or figured out, and I'm already figuring them out. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
will I stay in a individual contributor role for long? Probably not. I'm going to be honest. It's just not my
It's a
point.
little bit too much in your blood to lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the good things is that I do get this sense of understanding what the others, because before I was just I had to deal with sales, I had to deal with engineering, now it's like they are working with me to service a customer. And one thing that is true in every single business that I've worked in, be it in IT or anything else, is that the only reason you're there is for that customer. When I was a recording engineer, the only reason I was there was because this guy wanted to record an album. Whether he was good or not is irrelevant. I just had to do a job. When I was a cook, same thing, right? I just had to do the best job that I can. And then as a leader, as I started growing up through leadership, it just started taking its own form. And now it gets to the point where I can't think. For instance, today I had a one-on-one with my manager. He said, "Okay, I want to talk about this and this and this." So I created a 9-page presentation with the stats and here's the deal. And he's like, "I don't need all of this." I said, I get it, man. It's not a matter of you needing it. I need it. I need to
Right.
produce that. You're going to be able to take whatever and there's more information than you need. Absolutely. But anybody else that picks up that document or that slide deck is going to immediately get it. What happens? I'm huge on successor planning. What happens if I just do a half-assed job and I don't leave whatever's necessary for the next person doing this job? I'm creating a disservice to that person. I'm creating a disservice to the company that has trusted me to create this. And when I explained it that way, I was like, I'm not trying to show up anyone. This is how I do it. I can't help it. If you want, one letter sentences, a couple word sentences, I can do that, but I don't. I elaborate, I break it down, and especially when I think that somebody else is going to benefit from it.
Well, and it strikes me that idea of succession and, dare I say, legacy, and it also creates that structure, like you said, that other people can pick that up and go, so that if your interest moves over into another area, that someone can come in behind you and kind of slide into that seat. And
Absolutely.
how many times have we entered a seat like that? And it's trying to almost recreate the whole thing because there's no record of anything that had happened
Yeah.
before.
Agree.
And you've left a little bit of a legacy or a succession in other ways too, because with your daughter, if we could just revisit that for a second. And when you reflect on what she sees from her dad as the leader, what are the things that you think that she embodies based on those lessons and those insights you wanted her to see?
She's definitely got the smarts. And I think that she combines that with hard work. And granted, our career paths are completely different. She's an educator.
Okay.
So she does her own thing over there. One of my daughters is a mortgage banker. I mean, go figure. But the truth of the matter is that they all go their own route, but they do see what work, hard work. I mean, it's not even hard work. I hate to say that because a lot of people you will think that I'm a slave to that. It's not it. It's challenging yourself, getting to the point where you do something that makes you feel good and that gives you that rush. And when you win like that, it's really a powerful tool. It's so dynamic. I think that's what I was able to give them, and that's what I see from them. I see that they work hard, they get what they want, they move forward, and then they tackle something else completely different.
Well, and it also strikes me that they pursued something that was of interest to them, something where they felt like I can make a difference here and I can really challenge myself. And that seems like that's part of the legacy that you have demonstrated for them as well. Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I treat them like employees sometimes. in the way that, I'm very candid and I'm very clear. And I'm like, what you're trying to do is not going to get you where you want to be. You're playing the short game. You need to play long game. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I approach their upbringing, especially when it started to get to the point where they're actually working. Right.
Yes.
I was like, guys, if anybody, if any one of you guys wants a job as an intern in an IT shop, I can get you like that. That said, none of them wanted that, and I don't blame them. This is something that you really have to,
You have
and
to love it.
you have to love
Yes.
it. You have to love it because it can be a soulless task. But that's it, if I can say that that's what I've seen them attached to is that just follow the instructions. The book is there. It's simple. Just read it, understand it, learn what you need to do, learn what you don't need to do. And then there's always, you need somebody to be able to help you out to push some of those strong traits and then work with you to take away some of the bad habits because we all have
Yes.
them.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of the book, what prompted you to write the book?
You know what? I just had it in my head for such a long time that that's what I wanted to do. When I started that, the day that came to term, I used to work as a CIO for a recruitment firm in New York. And I used to get in, I lived in Connecticut, and I'd go at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on the train, and everybody's dressed in the same dark suit. Everybody's going to Grand Central Station. Everybody's doing, and it was, I looked at it one day and I was like, I feel like we're cattle. I feel like we're just being pushed into this little maze to go and do things. And I started thinking about that, and it's like I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be the person that forces that on people. That's where the idea came from, and then it's just been a matter of thinking about it. Should I do it? Let me write something. Then life takes over, different jobs, different challenges, things like that.
Yes. And then again, it seems like it's this starts with small steps, keeps on building up from there to the point where we're expecting that to be published soon after recording here. So I'm looking really forward to picking that up myself and being able to do that. And I'm curious, as we've been talking here, is there anything that you would want to talk about that we didn't discuss or questions that we should just discuss a little bit?
You know what? One of the things that I think that I would definitely like to talk about is what I kept on saying is creating leaders, right? Focusing on and you, I mean, you're a coach, right? So
Yes.
this is what you do. You help leaders become better. How do I help somebody good become a leader, right? And then from there, have them learn at their own pace, understand their own positions, and not have to focus on, if somebody can do the job at a high level when I'm on vacation, that's a good person.
Yes. If
That's
I
all.
don't have to check my email, if I don't have to know what's going on, that is someone who can take the initiative and solve a problem, even if it's not perfect. I wasn't there. So solve it partially and then we'll get it across the finish line later as we might need to.
There's so many people that don't look beyond the curve, right? You're driving down a curvy road. You don't know what's coming up. You don't know
No.
if a semi is coming your way and it has no brakes. You've got to be always looking forward. And when I find that kind of resource, that kind of little diamond, right? That little thing that I can polish, it's such a satisfying thing. I have people that I've worked with for years, that I've mentored for years and years and years, and they are all in really good positions, working really high capacity roles, and it's that more than anything is what drives me and satisfies me, to be honest.
Well, and I think one of the things that, I mean, I talk about it all the time as, integrating who you are with how you lead. And it's such a critical piece because if you're so focused on being who somebody else told you to be, then that's a huge energy drain. It's exhausting to try to be someone, and it comes off fake. Everyone can see it. And it becomes an opportunity for that individual to say, okay, so maybe that's why it's not working, right? There's so many who are still conditioned to do it as they're told how to do it, as opposed to just leaning into, right, but they hired you for the role. So you have characteristics that they want to see. And so show those. develop those, strengthen those. And that's where, and it's not the technical pieces, it's often the people pieces, understanding how people work and understanding how to engage in that kind of conversation the way you do it. I work with a lot of introverts. They don't have a lot of words all the time. I happen to, but most introverts really I think that there's a whole component where you have to recognize how to manage yourself, manage your own energy, manage your own kind of contribution level. Because the other thing that I think about when we're creating leaders is that if they are too focused on doing all of the work still and showing how they want to do it, you were saying repeatedly in our conversation, I don't know everything. Kevin said Kevin didn't know everything. And this idea that a leader needs to know everything is actually ridiculous because it should be the exact opposite of that.
Absolutely. You're just leading.
And I think part of it really comes down to helping people recognize all of the skills, all the leadership skills that they actually have. And that's true, whether they know it or not. So many times people say, oh, I don't want to be a leader. I could never do that. Okay, so first of all, I kind of hear your I can't kind of thing in there. And I would hope that that would motivate them a little. But even when it doesn't, part of it is these are the reasons that I see in you, that you have what you need to be a leader. If you choose to do it, or if you choose to stay in that individual contributor path, that's up to them. That's what they choose. But this idea of I can't becomes, of course you can. It's a question of do you want to?
Exactly. And that becomes pervasive, right? Because it's not just business. If you're saying I can't, what else are you saying I can't to?
Exactly.
Well, how are you limiting yourself? How are you limiting your family? How are you limiting your friends? It's a very powerful thing to be just to want to get things done, to want it to happen. I've had team members that I've actually told them, speak up. Every time you open your mouth, you hit a home run. Speak up. People listen to what you're saying. That is incredibly powerful.
And especially when you don't talk much and then all of a sudden you say something, people are, wait, hold on. That person spoke and they don't speak very often. So we need to really tune in. So it is a bit of a superpower when it comes to that.
It is. But I think that's also where a manager comes in, a leader comes in, because you have to learn how to get people to that level, right? How to push them beyond their comfort zone, right? How do I get them uncomfortable, but yet not so uncomfortable that they're just missing it, right? So there's always that. It's like a dichotomy, right? I mean, you want to be, you are the leader. You are, holding them accountable to specific work that you're paying for. None of this is a favor that anybody's doing you. You're actually paying somebody a salary. But at the same time, when you have somebody that you know for a fact that just a little bit more of effort on your part can make a dynamite, team member, versus just somebody that will on the traditional bell curve be on a 3. Why? Put in the effort. As a leader, that's what I believe we need to do. We just can't, we got to break away from the mentality that everybody gets treated the same.
I couldn't agree with you more with that. And really the recognition of keeping that balance and maintaining some semblance of push while also being able to retreat back into some comfort, because then you can push more again the next time. And I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on to the show. And certainly what we would love to do is to be able to capture some way for people to contact you, and we'll leave that link in the show notes so that people can reach out and learn a little bit more about how you lead and how you operate in this space. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. It was a lot of fun, actually. I don't get to do this a lot. Becky, thank you for your time. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you. I do too. If you have interest in connecting and learning more about today's guest, check out the show notes for ways to connect and follow up. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who could benefit from it. Until next time, I'm Becky Fraser, reminding you to integrate who you are with how you lead. Okay, bye.